Sure. Go for it.
And he goes, and the door closes behind him. It's not that I'm trying to make advances or anything. I was just genuinely concerned. Before we go any further, in case
laughing.
anyone
That
is listening at the door.
Yeah, that's very much her laughing at the notion that he would make a proposition.
That's good. He has lightened the mood somewhat. He is pleased by this. His charisma has blossomed somewhat. Which is good, because he's a caster, but anyway. Alright, well, I don't know the best way to go about this, so I suppose I'll start at the start.
Sure.
Is there something... more like hand-wringing motions. Right, well, what brings you here in the first place? It seems like almost everyone has some manner of vendetta that has brought them to Red Larch, besides myself.
Yeah, Hef was telling me outside. Somebody screwed over his guild.
Aye, and I just heard from Hoser about his unfortunate experience on the high seas.
Yeah, understandably, ships don't tend to sink themselves.
Especially,
I understand he's a bit sore about it. I understand.
More than a little sore, I'd be willing to posit, but I was more curious about your reasons for being. They don't seem to be quite, what's the word? So much based on principles as what I'm looking for, which is just some treasure hunting in the end of things. I seem to be perhaps the least involved in vendettas and hard times, so I suppose I had a bit of concern. He's really beating around the bush.
Yeah, and Ren's just looking at him like kind of half smiling because she can see that he's like taking the long walk to this conversation. Like,
which is especially odd because it's Gunnar and he's used to being direct. In this case, occasionally he's just like, for once he's decided maybe being direct is not the best option, but then what do you do if you are not that?
yeah, I think after a little while of him sort of hemming and hawing around the point, she's just going to say, just cut to the point. Gunnar, you're not going to upset me.
Right.
Plain is preferred.
Well, if I'm going to just go back to straight talk, then I noticed you were in a sort of mood up on the road here. Something to do with the stones or people related to them. I couldn't quite place what exactly, but something seemed to be bothering you, and I'd like to know exactly what. If that's fine, of course.
I told you to speak plainly, didn't I?
Plainly
and she
spoken.
sort of, yeah, she sort of hefts the her leg off her lap and pulls the coat off, and so you can sort of see like what's left of her leg on that side.
Ooh.
And which you've probably not really seen in this close of proximity before, because normally she's got the coat on, even if the leg has come off a couple of times. And it's just she just sort of vaguely pats at her leg and just sort of, yeah, I'm looking for the person who's responsible
for your leg.
Yeah. And she points to the scar on the other side, the one that's massive and blue and spreads across half of her neck and up onto her face, and like where most of the ear is missing.
Yeah. Right. Well, that explains a few things.
Doesn't it?
More than I'd expected at first, but I suppose I'm in the business of helping everyone towards their goals at this point, since there's no such thing as pro bono, especially now that I'm asking people to go in the depths below into some dangerous dwarven ruins which has traps possibly has traps the likes of which we don't know. Beating around the bush again. Anyway.
She smiles a little.
I suppose if we had to put a name to them, would you mind?
Sure. He's like you, sort of.
Sort of.
works with the stone. Sorcerer, name of Vizan.
Another dwarf. If a clan name by any chance? And Gunner's just kind of open that it's not one of his clan, but he's kind of prepared for the possibility.
Yeah. Not a dwarven name. It's Mirage Vizan. Don't think he's one of your people.
There's a visible exhale.
Yeah,
Right.
don't worry.
Well, you never know with these kinds of things. We have gotten around a fair amount of here on the Sword Coast, but even so, you know, there's not many who claim to work with the stone as closely as we do.
Fair, but no, he's not a dwarf.
Any chance we could perhaps hear about the circumstances, or is that a little too much?
She sort of sighs and sits back a little bit.
Oh,
I
no.
was
Hang on. Pirate music just came up. I need to stop this.
Oh yeah,
horrifying.
let's find. Come on, DJ Corey, get your shit together.
This is what happens when YouTube doesn't let you not autoplay playlists.
Mhm.
Okay, go on.
I was apprenticed to a wizard, and well, you know how these magic users of a certain once they get to a certain point, they can get jealous of each other. Rivalries, that kind of thing. This sorcerer took umbrage, clearly, to something.
Umbrage to something.
Well, yeah, that's the best way I could think to explain why he would sabotage the first attempt at the cannon. Blew up next to my face.
Well. And he just sort of nods slowly. It's a good image, especially with what you've seen of the Kenden.
Yes, I think he was trying to make it look like it was my fault.
Well, I'd say that he wasn't successful at first blush.
Well, yeah, part of the house caught fire, and he came in, killed the master, and are you familiar with the disintegrate spell, Gunnar?
In passing, I've heard stories of it when we take trips up to Mirabar, but I've never seen it myself.
She's going to roll up the bit of pant leg that she's got left on that side and show you the state of what's left of her left leg. And it is nasty. And there's like a couple of like gaping holes in it. Like, imagine vaguely like sort of Swiss cheese, but
Ooh.
worse. And it's a person's leg, or what's left of a person's leg.
Well, that's wonderful.
And she, and she sort of looks him in the eye and goes, the reality's worse.
Certainly different from quarry accident I've seen, no less. He's sort of clearing his throat. He's seen dwarves without limbs before. It's not a rare thing, especially with quarries. You know, obviously legs and arms and such get crushed under great rock, but this is on an entirely different caliber from those, a simple amputation or other things, or even just someone who's can afford regeneration. He's seen that, but he hasn't seen something quite so destroyed.
Yeah. You know how acid eats away at rock?
Well enough, I've used it in masonry before.
Turns out flesh will do kind of the same thing.
I suppose at a bit of a faster rate.
I got lucky,
Suppose that's
dodged out of the way.
Suppose that's a term for it. Yeah, luck. Living is...
Well, there's not a... There wasn't a whole lot of me to begin with, so I maintain I was lucky.
Well, I'm not one to disagree. You're here on this green earth, so I suppose that's luck in and of itself. So, how did you end up here? Is he in the area?
He was. Shreya led me to Red Latch. And it went cold.
Seems like
There's something about it around here. All these cults. There's got to be something drawing people here. I don't know. But then that Earth cultist, he told me Mirage is with the Earth cult.
Right. Well, that's certainly a start. That's more than what I've heard from Poser, at least, who said he hasn't. And maybe it's just because he hasn't seen much into it, but maybe that man he's looking for is with the water cult too. And
Maybe.
just sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Contemplating now?
Yeah, Ren will sort of pull her trouser leg back down and pull her coat and her leg back onto her lap and sort of start working on it again. And
Right. Well, I can't promise that we have a direction, and I suppose I'll have to put my ventures off for a while we deal with the cultists that are around. But I suppose that's a good a lead as any to start on. Actually, do we know anything about that Earth cult, where they are? You've been keeping track, haven't you?
they're in the ruins. That's what the cultist said.
Right. Well, I suppose we'll have to find them first.
Well, yeah, that'd be a start.
That lines up, but I don't quite have a lead on where they are yet. And in fact, I actually came to perhaps ask you if you might be able to find some way to locate these. I'm not obviously the best at research or anything, but I suppose that you may be a little better equipped in those faculties than I am. So he's just going to take a second, and he is going to rustle around in his pockets, and along with the map that he already has, he's produced a good enough sketch of it onto another piece of paper, which he's just going to hand over to Ren.
Okay, I mean, I don't know this area too well. I lived up in Neverwinter, moved down to Waterdeep, but give me some time. I might see if anywhere here at Iliad's got better records of the area. I might be able to figure something out.
Aye, knowing or not, well, if you have any questions about the area, I've been around. I've walked these lands for years at this point. So if ever you're wondering what's where, I can assist with that.
Okay, sure. And she sort of gives him a half smile.
And he nods and supposes that he can't really do much more than that, so... Right, well, I suppose I'll leave you to your business of your leg. I'll be down below in case you have anything you're needing of me.
Sure. Gunnar, don't be telling everyone, please.
Naturally.
You are the very embodiment of discretion, I can tell. Not aware that he was listening to the conversation she had with Morgana earlier.
That actually would make him the very embodiment of discretion, though, that he wasn't in the slightest discretion, though, right?
Sure.
And he hasn't said anything about it, and he can't really say anything about it because he doesn't know what's happening, but... Right, well, I have no reasons to tell, and believe me, I'm the last to speak of these sorts of things. It's much too important for idle gossip, so rest assured, I swear on my life and the stones themselves that I'll leave it be.
Consider me assured then.
Sir.
And she smiles more properly this time.
And with a nod, he'll turn on his heel and find himself out of the door.
Oh, before you go.
Aye.
And she leans sort of half off the bed in a very awkward way that looks like she's about to fall off but then doesn't, and pulls up the Arcane magazine for the Thunder Cannon and opens it and pulls out a handful. Well, she probably uses two hands, and she sort of holds them out. It's like, you're fond of that catapult trick.
Oh, aye.
Why don't you try with these?
He considers it for a bit. Well, it has to have a bit of weight to it, but I suppose if we stuck
Try
it in
lift one.
a little one.
They're solid. I was going to say they are hefty.
Are they
Like the thunder cannon? I imagine like a small musket ball, like that kind of size, like the size of her fist, each one. Well, maybe she's not holding that many, but yeah, because the thunder cannon, I imagine like a bazooka, like it's big. So the balls that go into that go inside it are large enough for that. Like I imagine like small cannonballs. So they're probably weigh, and they're solid metal.
small cannonballs instead of musket balls? That's actually probably more proper. I suppose the question to ask, and this is probably something else. Right, well, these things need some sort of weight to them, and he's gonna walk over and just take a few and sort of hold them in his hand. I could possibly put them in a small bag. Well, he's evaluating a bit. Well, I suppose I can test this one way. And so he's going to take a second and just have that bed, turn it onto its side.
This is the bed where Morgana's sleeping. This is the best. Not right this second. It's just the room that I assume we're sharing. Carry on. Please carry on.
No property damage, hopefully, but let's see how this one goes. Because the bed can't dodge this.
Nope. It really can't.
Oh man, that bed.
Oh, that poor bed.
He's probably dented the mattress and possibly shattered like at least one
A
of
slat.
the pieces of wood under it. Yeah, a slat. Now, obviously, I have to check with Kayla the mechanical part of this.
For sure.
Aye, well, hefty. That's the word for it, ain't it?
I know. I make more. It makes more. The bag. It's kind of a thing. So if you like them, let me know. I can make you more.
We'll have to find some way to refine it. He'll just slowly tip the bed over. A broken slat won't do too much for it, he figures. He'll just trying to leave it.
Ren's just kind of looking at him, smirking.
Ah, come on. I like
You know, if she complains once about that bed, don't think I won't drop you in it.
I can take it. Well, it's not exactly like I'm sleeping on the image of comfort anyway.
Fair.
Right, well, whole business aside, I'll go ahead and see myself out.
Appreciate that. It's kind of mobility is, you know.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
And with that, out the door he goes. Just sort of awkwardly, because he's yeah.
Morgana senses a disturbance in the force.
Disturbance in the force of her bed.
Total Goldilocks moment. Some motherfucker's been blowing up my bed.
He thought that the mattress would be enough, and it wasn't.
Something sacred that should not be disturbed has been disturbed.
It's the best target in the room.
A girl's bed is no longer safe.
To find a new roommate. A roommate that won't let my bed be exploded.
Bed be exploded. That's great.
Wow.
I like Christ. Alright, well, that's Gunnar and Ren. Then I'm off the books and Ren's off the books. Who's next?
Well, if we skip to tonight.
There's lots of things happening tonight.
Yeah, that's the core conceit.
So,
Ozer's gonna stop by Ren first. Do I have your permission now, ma'am?
Do I have your permission to attend this class?
Oh my god, that's amazing. Ren just looks at him for a moment and just waits long enough for the silence to be awkward, just smiling at him. And she just eventually goes, "Be my guest."
Alright.
what time is
And
it happening?
And
That's a
how's
good
that?
question.
And she sort of
Right.
pats the thunder cannon and gets back to work.
Hang on, let me pull up Hauser's theme. It's time.
Good.
Hang on. Here it is.
House's theme.
I can't hear it, but I know what's happening.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that's a good question. What time is it?
I would say
Nearly
maybe-
11:30.
Oh, in character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what I know. I can see the clock on my computer.
I
I
don't
meant
even
the
know why I
time in
asked it.
game.
It's not like anyone's in the same time zone.
Would it say early evening maybe?
It's late. I'm tired.
Understandable.
So at some point during the day, probably, I don't know, half an hour or so after she had a conversation with Ren, she'd have come in, gone upstairs, potted around a bit, made sure that Ren was probably the only one in the room. She's come in, she's made a bit of a fuss, and she has swapped her clothes out. She's come down and she has asked if there's any laundresses around because her clothes are dusty, they are gross, she's slept in them, she's fallen down a pit, she's probably still got blood in them. It's gross. It's not nice. So at some point she's gone and ambled off and done that. And she's in completely different clothes. Like she's wearing a dress like made of scarves. Lots of scarves. But with strategically placed knots.
Oh no. How will I ever recognize you now?